Old houses are always a little creepy, even more so when they have secret rooms and remnants of a vengeful ghost. Come with us on a journey of harrowing babysitting experiences. Learn how to balance the books and set schedules. Find out how to properly run a lucrative childcare business. Gossip about whose mom is dating whose dad. Investigate the mystery of why kids won't just go the fuck to sleep. This episode, we read The Ghost at Dawn's House from the Babysitters Club series on ReLiterated, the podcast so dreamy you would think we were Kim Geary. Welcome to ReLiterated, the lowbrow book club of three grown-ass men reading the children's books popular in the 1990s, but with 2020's hindsight. Fair warning, we use language too mature for kids, analysis too immature for literary scholars, and ignorance too profound to be inoffensive to everyone. You can interact with us and enjoy all kinds of bonus content by searching ReLiterated on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, and now Facebook. Or you can ask us questions, suggest future episodes, or tell us what we've missed by sending us an email at reliterated@gmail.com. Make it a good question, and we'll answer it on the show. My name's Andy, and I like pizza and video games, and I hate fishy smells and loud vehicle sounds when I'm trying to record a podcast or an audiobook. Harold's my best friend, but I'm not his best friend, but that's okay. We're all really good friends in the Chocolate Milk Friends.
My name's Harold. I like to pull pranks, like the time I put yogurt in Josh's lotion bottle and it fermented on his face while he was at work. I'm probably the chocolatiest of the Chocolate Milk Friends, since I eat so much chocolate. Josh is intolerant, but he's still my best friend, though I'd never tell Andy that.
My name's Josh. I like peanut butter cups, video games, and puppies. I refuse to tolerate lactose, even though Harold and Andy like it. I don't like either of those guys, but sometimes you need stepping stones on your way to podcast stardom.
That was real special, guys. I feel like we all shared something.
I do too.
I agree.
I think that Andy's my best friend now.
And apparently I don't like either of you fucks, so.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
Well,
you're out of the Babysitters Club.
you are intolerant,
man.
Josh, so.
Because we don't tolerate intolerance here.
Nope. Lactose or otherwise.
Fucking milk. Goddamn cheese.
But yeah, this week we're talking about the Babysitters Club for the first time ever. Will it be the last time? I don't know, maybe.
It could be.
We'll see. We'll see if the fans are clamoring for a second.
Yeah, we'll just have to see the reaction to this. But it was a super popular series of books back in the day.
It was. I mean, it had 131 copies in the normal Babysitters Club series. And then it had some spin-offs, some scary story books, and a couple special series that they had.
Yeah, there was a 13-episode series in 1990, a movie in 1995, and just last year they started a Netflix series that the author Anne Martin is a producer on. So she's still active with the Babysitters Club series, and she's the one who started it all.
I mean, it had a lot of success. It was popular. I do remember girls reading this book when I was in school. Now, I had no idea what a Babysitter's Club book was like before we did this.
Yeah, me neither. Because it was the 90s. There were books that were for boys and books that were for girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah, all my cousins had these because my brother and I are the only two boys. Boy cousins, all the rest are girls. So this book I know was read by my cousins, and I'm pretty sure my brother might have read it just because he was a voracious reader, but I never took the time to read these at all.
Yeah, I didn't either. I feel like a lot of young boys didn't take the time because we had so many other things that we had that were for us, and not enough curiosity about the other side of things,
Well, yeah, I mean, today when you turn on TV for after school or kids' TV channels, they have a pretty good mix of like girl shows, get boy shows, and they do it in such a way that it doesn't really matter if it's a pinker show or a bluer show, the way they kind of lay out the colors. You know, my kids will watch either one and don't think anything of it because they're exciting, they're fun. But when we were growing up, as far as shows went, I mean, you got out of school, there was Spider-Man, Batman, you know, it was all guys shows, you know, or stuff that boys would be more interested in most of the time, rough and tumble fighting and Power Rangers. Now, I had a lot of friends that were girls that liked Power Rangers, but they had female characters more into that. But at the time, you know, if you said I watch Batman every day, most of the girls were like, oh, okay, you know.
Though I felt it was the cool girls that were into that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Too. And it never occurred to me that, you know, I could be one of the cool boys if I started reading the Babysitter's Club, or if I was into other things like Barbies or what have you.
Is that what me reading the Babysitter's Club would have meant, though? I don't know.
I mean, in our child culture, we would have been mocked endlessly.
We would have.
If we were seen reading the Babysitter's Club.
I have limited experience with Babysitter's Club, being this book alone, but I mean, it's a tough one. It had its interesting things to it, but it was so much different than the type of books that I was exposed to as a kid, you know, that someone would hand a boy and be like, read this book. This book seemed like it was training someone to start a business for the first quarter of it. I mean, it was odd to me.
Yeah, they have a pretty robust organization.
Yeah.
With well-defined roles in what they do.
Absolutely.
And they like cover for each other, and they take over each other's responsibilities, and they look after each other, and I thought that was pretty respectable.
Right, because I didn't spend a lot of time looking after my friends. Usually we were trying to hurt each other or get, you know, make sure we weren't the one who got in trouble.
The media that we took in was mostly like based in this supernatural stuff kind of, but like awesomeness and power and like fighting for what you believe in, whatever. Or it's like in some ways fantastical and dealt with a lot of like power dynamics and being strong, like physically strong and stuff.
Right.
But like the Babysitter's Club stuff is all about like friendship and relationships and, you know, stuff that actually comes in handy in actual real life. And
the hierarchy of a business.
Of a business. Yeah.
That was the most awe-inspiring thing to me when I was reading it, was this Christy Thomas is the founder and president. Mary Ann Spire is the secretary. Claudia Kishi is the vice president. Stacy McGill is the treasurer. Oh, wait, there's more. Dana Schaefer is the alternate officer. And then later, there comes some junior officers, associates, and second alternate officer. First off, I wouldn't have known what the fuck most of those things were at that age that we would have been reading these books. I'm like, why the treasurer, alternate officer? What the fuck does that mean? And here they are, like, oh, we're making this book for girls, and I almost wonder. This thought just came to me. But I mean, if we look back as time is going on, and as that glass ceiling is still trying to be broken through, you know, it's cracked a little bit, but it's not entirely broken through yet. But I mean, it makes sense that in the 90s, when, you know, a lot of our age group was adolescent, somebody was like, hey, we need to give these girls a head start and start making them think on this level. Like, hey, you know, create a group, get a business going, set things together. You know, they took in how much money they were making. They wrote journals about what they were doing. And you know, it does that throughout the book. Like, all of a sudden a chapter will be one of their experiences babysitting, as if they wrote it in a journal for the other girls to read, you know, so that the other girls would be able to, if they went to babysit for these kids, they would know how these kids are. Okay, yeah, Marianne told me they would be like this. It was interesting, for sure.
And I'm sure it inspired a lot of girls out there to make organizations of their own and share notes on the kids in the neighborhood and how best to look after them and what their needs are and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely a smart way of, teaching those that wouldn't have been reached otherwise. It's a way to teach business acumen to them. So this was a way to break that barrier so that girls could learn all these different things so that they could have a leg up when they got to the real world.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of our first impressions on the series as a whole, based on our experience with this one book, Babysitter's Club number 9, The Ghost at Dawn's House. So does anybody have any notes about the author, Anne Martin?
So Anne Martin was born in 1955. There are, at the time of the book that I read, the version I read, there were 176 million copies of Babysitter's Club in print. I mean, that's a lot of books. That's approaching, R.L. Stine had something like 300 million out there or something like that. And that's a book that the book series Goosebumps was obviously loved by both boys and girls. So, I mean, to have 176 million that was mainly aimed at girls, I'm sure there were boys that read Babysitter's Club, but it was definitely mainly aimed at girls. She wrote a couple other series called Main Street and Family Tree, and she's got some novels, Belle Teal, A Corner of the Universe, which was a Newbery Honor book, Here Today, A Dog's Life, and On Christmas. But it sounds like she definitely had a love and a focus on trying to bring stories to young girls, because I mean, as we've talked about, so much of it, even Goosebumps was for both, but I'm sure that with some of the stuff going on in Goosebumps, and I guess he had a lot of girl characters and boy characters being the main characters in his book, so but a lot of stuff is kind of almost written and made with you don't notice it until you do. That how much stuff is made with boys in mind. And I don't know if that's just because it's like we need to entertain them so they don't destroy everything, or or
I guess
what,
just
but
playing to their power fantasies is what sells novels. It's what sells stories.
So I mean, it seems like she had a passion for trying to create a place for girls, which is really cool. I mean, like I say, it was definitely an interesting read, and I thought it was neat how they put together teaching. It almost seems like to me that teaching girls the idea of business,
right? And not just business, but being like having their own identities as young women, and being strong, independent people as well, and they even look after their friends with disabilities. I mean, Stacy has diabetes, but she's not like teased for it. I mean, they even make special purpose to provide, like when they go out and buy snacks, they bring back something that Stacy can have. They're considerate to their friends with special needs, and I think that was a lot of Anne Martin's heart in developing that in young people.
Right. And it also doesn't suffer from the concept of they needed a boy to save them from anything. That never happens. They don't, they don't have some guy who jumps in to save them at the end of the day. Of course, they do have Cam Geary, so I mean, they've got the heartthrob that is apparently a heartthrob throughout the series.
I mean, it is realistic. They are young girls, and there's going to be relationships with boys in their lives. I mean, they're not going to be completely separate from the existence of men or their romantic desires as well. But I do appreciate how well like the characters are treated, and they're not just constantly drooling over boys.
Right.
They're young girls, but they're not like Barbie girly girls,
Right.
Oh, I was gonna say it. Technically, only one of them's like really into boys. So, and that's Marianne. She's the one that's obsessed with Cam Geary. So
this is true.
I think at some point all of them do, but Anne Martin is lesbian. And or a lesbian. I don't know how to talk about LGBT people.
We are ignorant.
We we are dumb men children.
Here's what we like to do. We like to dive into subjects we shouldn't dive into.
Uh-huh.
And then try our best to dig our way out of them in the most innocent light that we can.
Yes, we are very honest about our shortcomings, though,
Yes.
and we will recognize where we come up short. But we do want you, the listeners, to know that it's coming from a place of good faith. I hope it comes across as such.
As do I.
But that being said, I do appreciate that, having an LGBT author, she can still write about young girls who are into boys. And I don't know, like, there's 131 fucking books in this series. It's just the regular series alone. I don't know if there are any like same-sex relationships that come about. It was the 90s. That stuff was like late 80s, 90s. That stuff was played really low-key. I do understand that in the 2020 Netflix series, whatever, there are more same-sex relationships introduced into it. Like, there's a lot more diversity in the modern day stuff, like, naturally, as it's becoming more and more a part of daily recognition, conversation, just the experience in our culture. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to get around to discussing the ghost at Dawn's house specifically.
yeah. Yes, I definitely want to get into this. But I wanted to say, too, like, I find it funny because I remember hearing people, like, years and years and years ago would talk about how, people that are homosexual or anything like that, oh, they're such a small part of the population. And it's like, but are they, though? Or do so many people who are part of the LGBTQ community hide it their whole lives because of the awful treatment? So there's no real way to know how many people are bi or homosexual or any other kind of feeling. So yeah, I mean, it is definitely interesting, and I think it's cool if they're going now with more of a realistic view on things. We should get into the book, though, because we could go on about this stuff for hours. And I think at the end of the day, as innocent as we are and as foolish and ignorant as we might be, we might get ourselves in trouble if we keep on talking. trying to skate the lines.
We've caught a lot of attention on Facebook, I know, for this being the book we're covering now. And I'm sure there's a lot of ears listening in on us going, hey.
I think that what I'm kind of even realizing as we're talking about it now that I didn't really think of when reading the book is there's a lot of potential to give like some really good messages with this book. And there were a lot of good messages in the book. So,
I do want to say before we get into it, book number 8 in the series, the one before the one we're reading, is called Boy Crazy Stacy, where Stacy falls in love with a lifeguard who is way older than she is. Ooh. And the cover says, "Who needs babysitting when there are boys around?"
So
okay, that's can be a little problematic, but it may have been like tongue in cheek coming from who it was coming from.
Right.
But it was kind of centered around, bringing Stacy back to Earth for falling for a much older boy who's not good for her. Anyways, let's get to the ghost at Dawn's house. Dawn is new in town.
Yeah.
She was just it just started off with like the 4 other girls, and Dawn was recently added to the club.
Yeah, but she, her parents have been had a divorce, and so Dawn was off in California with her brother visiting their dad, and they all get back, and I think it's funny. Oh wow, look at your tan. That's disgusting. Is pretty much how it starts, which. I've always thought that people like tans, so I thought that was a strange one. But they all had gone away for 2 weeks to different places. So they didn't all go to the same place.
Mm-hmm. 2 whole weeks away from each other.
Yep. And they all live in Stony Brook, Connecticut. Now, 2 of the girls went off Marianne and Stacy, they got jobs for those 2 weeks, and they had gone to a resort as mother's helpers, which apparently sometimes can pay better than babysitting because you're with the kids more. And, the parents right there to appreciate it, I think, is what it comes down to.
How did I not know that this was a possibility? Like, to go on vacation with other people just to help out with the kids? Like, I wish I would have known about this business, because I could have done that.
Totally.
Instead of being just stuck in Huron County with nothing to do all summer.
It comes back down to us being, again, boys and people not wanting to trust us with their children.
This is true.
Right. And also living in Huron County versus elite East Coast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Connecticut is not a cheap place to live. So.
And this family has 5, 6 children in this family.
Well, the Pikes have 8.
The triple. Oh yeah, 8 kids.
8 kids.
Yeah.
Because they be fucking.
So they hired. They do be fucking, and they hired 2 adolescent girls to come with them on vacation to help with the kids.
Which is a pretty cool deal. I mean, you get paid, you go on a vacation. I mean, you're gonna have to work, but they're gonna give you a chance to go off and play in the pool or whatever.
Exactly. You get breaks and all that sort of stuff, so obviously.
I thought it was interesting how they go on to talk about divorce a little bit, which was another thing that I really didn't see in any of the media that I read growing up or saw. And they talk candidly about how Dawn's parents are divorced. And they had gone to California to visit, and she called him Disneyland Daddy. Because, it's her dad, but he feels really guilty that he's not around. And so he takes you on a bunch of vacations and buys you a bunch of treats and surprises. And it's great, but it doesn't feel like your dad at that time. Now, I mean, I didn't have, my parents lived nearby enough that we saw my dad regularly. But I have heard of people that had that where, when they go to visit their dad, they come back and they got a billion different things. That was the norm way back then. I think it's still pretty much the norm now that kids usually stay with mom and dad is the secondary parent. And I think that happens a lot where, they feel like they need to do extra for the kid because they're worried that, they're going to lose out on that love or caring. Not always the case, though.
Yeah, I'm the child of divorced parents as well. And basically, I remember pretty much every dad weekend, it was just like we got to do the guy stuff. So we'd watch action movies together, and he would take us to the park, and it was always we'd always have an event, always something going on. And then I moved in with my dad when I was about 12, and obviously all that stopped. It was a lot different because then it was you're there all the time. So a lot of that.
Yeah, and you can't keep that up.
Yeah, a lot of
if
those.
You're the dad.
A lot of those movie nights and everything's like that. It was just like, oh, when David's here, yes, we're going to do the movie night. But if it's just you, we're not gonna get movies. You'll just watch TV or whatever. It's just gonna be part of normal life. So
yeah, with some divorced parents, the kids being there is more of an occasion.
Yep. Yeah, and for Josh, it was like, hey, Dad, can we have cinnamon for cinnamon sugar toast? His dad's like, cinnamon? What do you think I am? Bill Gates? Jesus.
Yeah. He don't listen to this. So, yeah, he literally told me that cinnamon costs too much and that I should just use sugar. And so I thought sugar toast was like a normal thing. No, it's not a normal thing. That's just something my dad had me do. This man is insane, though.
Cinnamon costs $1.50.
He puts sugar on his cottage cheese. So let's not talk about my dad's thoughts on food. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Exactly.
It doesn't go into why Dawn and Jeff's parents are divorced here in the book or whatever, but in the recent series, it is because their dad comes out as gay, and that breaks up the marriage between their parents.
In the TV series, right?
Yeah, in the Netflix series from 2020. Yep.
I was gonna say they didn't rehash the book, did they?
I don't think so. No, there's only like 13 episodes of the Netflix series so far. I mean, they're going into season 2, whatever.
Okay.
We should watch it. We should watch it for the talk episode.
Yeah, we definitely should watch
the whole
it.
series. Binge it.
We
Binge it.
should watch an episode or two. Sure.
Slumber party. Hey, slumber party.
Yeah,
Let's
we
go.
could have a slumber party, stay up all night. This is when we get introduced to their whole like business setup that they got going on, where we find out about Claudia's bedroom, where she has her own personal phone number, which they use to run the babysitters club.
Yeah, she doesn't just have her own phone in her bedroom. She has her own number, which was a big fucking deal back then for a kid.
Huge.
Oh, man, you guys remember landlines?
I do.
I mean, this book takes me back to those days before cell phones.
Like, I remember calling people that lived at long distance, and one of my friends lived far away, and we talked a lot on the phone. And I remember every month my mom getting the phone bill and being like, Harold, the phone bill's $140, man. Oh.
I'll blow you guys' mind even more so. Do you guys ever experience having a party line?
I did not, but I've heard of them.
I had a party
I don't
line.
get invited to parties.
Oh, no, it wasn't that. Basically, you'd sometimes pick up your phone, and I'd hear my Aunt Dolores talking because we shared the same phone line down our road. This was on rotary as well, so you'd have to put in the whole thing with the...
Click.
Yep. Yeah. So it would be
old.
interesting because sometimes I'd be on the phone and I'd hear her pick up and she wouldn't put the phone down. And I would be like, Aunt Dolores, stop listening to my phone call. And then I hear her hang up.
Creepy Aunt Dolores. I just know Josh is on them drugs.
she would spy on me. Because my dad is a roofer, so we would go up on the roof. No, we don't, no fear of heights or anything like that. So we would just hang out on the roof sometimes. She'd call my mom, do you know your son's on the roof? And he's safe. He's fine. He's not going to fall off and hurt himself. His dad's a roofer, for God's sakes. Do you know your son is riding around on his 3-wheeler? Yeah, it's his 3-wheeler. He can do that. As long as he's wearing the helmet, he's fine. And I was. So, yeah, nosy neighbors. Just worse than their relatives.
Just to be clear, your dad being a roofer does not make you, like, genetically okay on roofs. You're not like a mountain goat or something that's born with the ability to fucking whoop whoop.
That's not how any of this works.
Yeah, but my mom can trust us being up on a fairly flat roof, you know?
Right.
She's not worried about us falling off. That's what I think my Aunt Dolores was worried about, is us falling off.
I mean, I was up on plenty of roofs when I was a kid, and I shouldn't have been up there, and my dad wasn't a roofer. But, you know,
yeah.
Again, boys' books suggested that we climbed on roofs. Girls' books suggested that you start a business and make money. Apparently. So they all meet at at Claudia's house. And the reason they meet there 3 times a week. And that means that all of them will be in the same room. So everybody around town knows that when they want to get a hold of a babysitter, they just call Claudia's during these meeting times, and they're going to have all 4 or 5 of the girls in place and be able to set it up. They make a schedule. They go through and they write in journals to make sure that everything's logged and they know everything they can. They have a record book full of information. They have all these clients, and, you know, in that book, they talk about how, like, one time someone ended up dog sitting instead of babysitting, and another time someone went babysitting for a kid. Marianne went babysitting for a kid. The kid got sick, and she actually had to call 911 and, you know, was able to relay, hey, that's a good thing to have, you know? So this was pretty nuts to me when I saw all this.
I feel like they have a monopoly on the babysitting in this town.
They do, and I feel like it's time someone breaks it up.
Yeah. We need to
Trust busters.
Yeah, we need to get some busters in there. Because it's like, they're talking about how these junior officers, if they're good enough. Who determines if they're good enough?
Right.
You? I don't know. I think I would undercut them.
Hey, I'm a 40-year-old dude, and I'll watch your kids for half of what these 12-year-old girls will watch them for.
I mean, not
that
now.
Sounds real good.
I meant when I was younger. now I'm like, I get paid a decent wage, so I'm gonna continue with my normal job. Well, I have a new job starting, but yeah, I'm gonna do that, not watch children.
I'm thinking of starting a book series called The Babysitter's Ninja Warrior Club to draw boys to it, right? And then I will do basically the same thing in the beginning, be like, hey, listen, man, you need to set up a little thing going on here. Get a cell phone. It's just for Babysitter Ninja Warrior Club, okay? You're going to want to point some people to some positions, log all your jobs. Oh, and there is a slightly 90s racist, not racist thing that happens here.
Oh yeah, where, the casual racism.
Yeah, where they mention how Claudia is Japanese and exotic looking, and she loves wild clothes and jewelry. Like, that's the thing that is about Claudia, okay? Everybody else has got like, oh, they like candy or they like this, and well, Claudia, she's Japanese and exotic, you know? So,
well, she's also a junk food addict, so there's
more to her than being Japanese American.
Yeah.
But how they slide that in, I was just like, casual racism of the 90s.
Yeah. I don't think it was meant that way either. I just think that it comes off that way now.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it comes off that way now.
I saw this one collection of like memes around Claudia and how she was like the only Asian student in school. Claudia Kishi, the only Asian at this damn school. Claudia and the racist little shits. Oh yeah, there is one book in the series that revolves around the kids that Claudia is babysitting, not wanting to be babysat by her because she's Asian, because she's different looking.
Oh wow. That's interesting that she tried to tackle that, though. I mean...
That would be number 56, Keep Out Claudia. Or Keep Out Claudia.
I wonder if George McNabb finally tried to get a babysitter.
Right? Yeah. He's like, hey, come watch my kids. Wait, you're Asian? You gonna try and steal my beans? Yeah, so I mean, like, after you get past page 4... There's just like 100 pages of filler, right, Josh? Is that how you describe it?
I did not. I wasn't even going to bring it up. You're the ones that were going to. I was silent this time. I was not going to even say anything.
Because I'm just bringing up a point that every book is going to apparently have filler to it because that's called a story. But it's just a note you make every time. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean filler?
I didn't make a note this time. This time I had no notes about that whatsoever.
You're like, you got me last time, Harold. Stop it.
Basicly. See, this is why I don't like either of you assholes.
That's the yogurt in your lotion. So they are all sitting around at this point. They tell each other about their different babysitting jobs that they had. They talk about the Pikes, and not for the only time in the book. They'll get into the Pikes a few different times in the book. It's one of their biggest clients because of the 8 kids that they have.
Mm-hmm.
So why do you think they have 8 kids? Do you think it's because of the
Catholics.
various, well, I was going to say
Catholicism.
either like Catholicism or being Mormon?
No birth control.
I don't know.
That could be it.
Well, here's the
or
thing,
Mormons.
They never mention Mormonism. They never mention Catholicism. And actually, at the Pike household, the kids basically have no rules, is how it goes. Like, they can eat whatever they want. They can pretty much go anywhere. I mean, the one kid is allowed to leave the house. He's like 7 or 8. And she's like, yeah, he can just go and don't worry if he's gone. If you don't see him for a while, haha, no big deal. I'm like, what?
Well, he has limits, though.
Yeah, the 2-block limit. But I'm telling you, if my mom gave me a 2-block limit when I was 8 years old, we were 5.5 blocks away.
I was going to say, we didn't have limits because we were latchkey kids.
Yeah.
It was get out of the house.
This was written during that time, though. So this was written during the time of latchkey kids. And when I was 8 years old, I was just telling a lady at the corner store tonight that I've been letting Bruce play out in the backyard a little bit, you know, without me being out there. I'll stand in the window and watch him, or I'm going in and out of the house, but I let him kind of hang out and run around the backyard. He knows where he can and can't go. And he actually, the other day, came in the house. He's like, is it okay for me to be out there? And I'm like, you're fine, bud. You know, I'm like, I'm letting you have some fun out there by yourself, you know. When I was his age, I'm not kidding you, I was on a bike 1.5 miles away from the house crossing major roadways. You know, I mean, it was much different then, much different. I'm sure some people do that now. I think it's crazy because we have a much different understanding of things now, but yeah. I mean, we were free most of the time, and these kids were pretty free.
So anyways, there's a ghost at Dawn's house.
But we haven't even gotten to the ghost yet. Why are you jumping into the ghost? Shit.
We're in chapter 1. We haven't gotten to anything yet.
Listen, we like to lay down a foundation with chapter 1. That's what the book is about. We lay down the foundation with chapter 1. We spend the first 45 minutes on that.
A pretty thick foundation.
And then we rush through the last 5/8 of the book.
I like this plan.
Yeah.
This is a good plan.
So anyways, yeah. So basically Dawn lives in this old Victorian house, this crazy old Victorian house. And they have a night where they all try and go around and look for a secret passage in the house because they're having a slumber party. And they don't find a secret passage anywhere, but Dawn keeps on hearing these noises when she's in her room at night.
Yeah, because Dawn figures it's an old house. Old houses have secret rooms.
Yep, secret rooms and ghosts. And her mom keeps telling her the house is just settling, and other people agree with that. But she's sure there's a secret room, and they aren't finding anything. They go through a number of different babysitting scenarios in between. Actually, at some point, Dawn is out in her barn and discovers a trap door in the floor. And she mentions that she feels like Nancy Drew in The Hidden Staircase when she finds this. Because I guess I didn't... I always overdo it in my imagination when someone falls hard and lands on something. So I felt like she fell from the loft, hit the floor, went through the trap door, and then fell down. I'm like, she should be dead. She should be fucking dead. Like, how did she survive this? But she did. And
I don't know if she fell from the loft, like
she
that
didn't.
high up.
I reread it later, and she didn't. She didn't fall through the loft.
Okay.
I don't know
it was
why.
Just a trap door on the floor.
Yeah, she fell through a trap door on the floor. She was sitting on the floor and fell through a trap door that wasn't latched properly. But for some reason, I imagined her falling from the loft as I was reading it because I kind of read quickly. I block paragraphs when I read. So she falls down this tunnel. And she's able to follow it. Now, Josh, you said you thought this tunnel had something to do with the Underground Railroad.
I do. I think that was the purpose of it because that's why it was hidden. It was because it was part of, helping the escaped slaves get to Canada.
And I mean, it is a barn into the house because where this tunnel leads, as she follows along, she finds some stairs and she walks up the stairs and eventually she finds a panel and she pushes it and opens it. And it turns out that the whole time the secret passage hidden in her house was in her room. And it was at this point where there was this molding around the area and it was like almost seamless. So she was able to just push a little thing and boop, walk right through, which is creepy, because then the other side of this is, first off, the trapdoor wasn't latched properly, so she was able to fall all the way from above the roof of the building when she jumped out of the plane and down through the trapdoor and not die, just adding further falling to it. She doesn't say anything about this at first, and they address it later like, whoa, you got this unlatched entrance to your home. But yeah,
it was
that makes sense.
It was the guy that was on a date with
Trip.
With the mom. Yeah, Trip. Shout out to any Trips out there, including that comedian that I know, Trip Hazard. Good guy. Pretty good stand up.
Yeah.
The Trip Man.
That would be my brother, by the way.
Can I just say, good for Dawn's mom. Like, she's recently divorced and she's getting out there. She's like really getting out there. They say she's going out with several guys, and Dawn wants her mom to marry Marianne, I think, dad. Like, they're kind of dating, whatever, but because she wants to be stepsisters.
It's reasonable.
With Marianne.
Fun fact, later on in the series, they do get married and they do become stepsisters.
Yep, that becomes a prominent arc in the series. Way to spoil things, Josh.
Yeah.
So much for Trip. Poor Trip.
Well, I mean, come on, that's pretty funny. I wouldn't go with that nickname, Trip. Unless I was going to be a comedian, of course. Do people call your brother Trip? Is that a regular thing?
In college, everyone in his college knew him as Trip because he would go up to people and be like, "Hi, my name's David, but everybody calls me Trip." Because Trip Hazard is a hilarious name.
It is a hilarious name.
And it works. So
I just wonder, because you always said that people called you Shark, and you're the least sharky person I know. So I didn't know that was just the
reason I got the name of Shark isn't because of my teeth or anything like that. It's because I would keep my cold hands in my sleeves, and so it looked like flippers were sticking out.
They called me Shark because of my dorsal fin.
That's pretty much, they just called me that, and I was like, okay, I'll go with it because it could be a lot worse. So I'll
also have a second
Shark.
row of teeth.
Best nickname I ever got was Little Harold.
I mean, I liked Miami myself, but
no, Miami Harold was the worst thing ever.
I remember you tried to be H3 for like a good year.
No,
just call me H3.
I was H3 to a lot of people. I was H3 at work for a few years. I was H3 to my stepsister. I was H3 to a lot of people, actually. Most of the people that knew my dad at one time called me H3.
Yeah, I would just call him Big Harold, even though he was smaller than you.
Nobody that was a regular friend of mine or in my circle ever called me H3 though, so. But yeah, so they come and they check this whole thing out, and it was funny because after Dawn found it, she found it after all the girls had left, and she found it on her own. And as excited as she was to find a secret passage, she never took the time to tell anybody about it. She just kind of kept it to herself. And she keeps on hearing noises from in there, and she's pretty sure that there's definitely 100% a ghost living in the passage.
Mm-hmm. And each time she's in the passage, she finds different things strewn around there.
Yep.
Like first time she finds like an old buckle and like a nickel. A really old nickel at some point.
Yeah, Buffalo had Buffalo nickel.
A buffalo nickel, and she steps on an old-fashioned ice cream cone end.
Yeah, but that ice cream cone wasn't there the first time she went through. She found that.
No, it wasn't there the first time, no.
Yep. She found that on the second time, and then as time goes on, she took her brother down there eventually and found peanut shells down there.
And they weren't there before. And the Trip Man actually shows the Trip Man the nickel, and he throws it into the passage, and she can't find it the next time she's in there when she looks for it. I think that's the time when she's showing her brother.
Yep. Now it is the Pikes, right, that they're babysitting, where the little boy is allowed to go 2 blocks
2 block
away.
radius.
2 block radius, yeah.
Yes.
And so she does notice, like, at one point when she's babysitting that this little boy disappears, and as much as she was told not to worry about it, of course, after a little while, she's like, okay, I need to go at least, like, get an eye on him, make sure that I have not lost this child. And she can't find him. She's calling for him. She's panicking. And then all of a sudden he shows up, and he's, like, kind of dirty. And he's like, oh, I was hot, and the other kids wouldn't let me come swimming with them, so I went and got cool somewhere else. And didn't register as anything with her at that point. And as time goes on, she keeps hearing more noises, and eventually finally decides to show a friend about this secret passageway. It was Mary Ann, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Mary Ann. She shows the passageway to. And Marianne is not a fan of scary ghost stuff. Now, also with the Pikes, though, they have an oldest daughter named Mallory, who does eventually become part of the Babysitters Club. She's kind of like a babysitter in training.
Yep, this whole series is like a nonstop tale of comings and goings, and they add to the group, and girls move away, and they form West Coast factions. Like, Dawn moves back to California eventually and forms, like, the West Coast Avengers. But this is like a super group of babysitters.
Yep.
Kind of like the Avengers. And there's a Babysitter Club universe, a BCU.
A BCU.
And it's actually kind of neat, I think.
Yeah. No, it is neat. I mean, and I'm sure there's
they're
stuff
not just
that we're just
isolated
not
stories like Goosebumps, where having nothing to do with each other. They actually have arcs and long-term payoffs to storylines, and it's kind of neat how they go along.
Right. I do want to note that when they come across some dust clumps, they call them dust bunnies. So I don't know why they said dust mice and mouse on the motorcycle. This made more sense when they said dust bunnies.
Right.
I was like, I know what that is.
I know what a dust bunny is.
Yep.
I mean, context clues. I know what a dust mouse is too. Let's be real.
I'm not quite sure I know. Not quite sure I know.
When you got a mouse right there, you have to slur him somehow.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be throwing bunnies under the bus when you got a mouse you can put down.
But anywho, at some point, it's kind of serendipitous, but like Dawn just happens to come across a book about urban legends about the town or whatever.
It was a history of the town, and at the end of it, it had the urban legends in it. At the end of the book.
Mm-hmm. And she found the story of, I'm trying to find it in my book, Mulray. Jared Mulray. I believe, long story short, his family was being forced to move away from the property, but he didn't want to move, so he hid out in his secret hiding place, which turned out to be the tunnel between the barn and the house. And Dawn concludes that what she's hearing is the ghost of old Jared Mulray still hiding in that secret passage.
You know, and leave it to a guy who fell into financial trouble to become a ghost and just live rent-free in someone's tunnel. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, squatters. They got to have some sort of organization that gets rid of these spectral squatters.
Right.
I mean, who are you gonna ring up? Like,
yeah.
What group are you gonna ring up?
Yeah. Who do we dial?
He-Man.
He-Man. Right? He-Man.
Perfect.
So, yeah, they, as this goes by for a little while, and she keeps hearing these noises, and she's now convinced that Jared Mulray's ghost lives in there, and she's shown it to her brother, she's shown it to her friend, she's all scared shitless, and she keeps going over to babysit the Pikes, and Nikki keeps on disappearing. And then she starts putting a couple things together. She noticed that the sounds were only really coming at times that Nikki, the little boy, would be able to go make noise in the tunnel. So finally one day when he disappears, she actually goes and checks the tunnel. And down in that tunnel, she ends up finding none other than Nikki. And it is him that's been making the noises and walking around and leaving all the stuff. At least the peanut shells, the ice cream cone, the nickel, those were all his. Some of the older stuff was just older stuff that got left down there, but once she moved that, no more older stuff showed up.
At one point she said that her mom's room was on the other side of the wall from her bedroom, so I was thinking that the moaning may have been something else.
I mean, she was talking to... She was experiencing her newfound single life, you know?
Yeah, she's in her hoe phase. Divorced people go through them.
She is not a hoe. She is a wonderful woman who just happens to be experiencing some things that she's been missing out on. There's nothing wrong with that.
I don't believe he meant the hoe phase as in the derogatory hoe phrase.
I'm just saying. Don't have to call her that. Don't have to use that terminology.
But Andy went through a hoe phrase for a minute.
Oh, he's not even through it. He's got to keep it going.
I mean, I'm not on the other end of it yet.
Yeah, he's still in his hoe phase.
Ladies.
Ladies.
It doesn't have to be a gendered thing. We can all be hoes, folks.
Yeah. Man, I mean, I'm a hoe.
Yeah.
It said so on my car.
Yeah, it did. It did. He had it written right on the side of his car. Custom job, too.
Custom job. Yep. I don't know who did it, but they wound up being right.
Yep.
He is a hoe. For show.
Backstory to anyone not familiar with it. I work in a pretty crime-ridden town, and there was a period of time where I kept finding the word hoe scratched into the side of my vehicle. And I, to this day, have no idea who did it, but I'm pretty damn sure that they mistook my car for somebody else's. Because it wasn't just hoe that was scratched into my car, it was slut. It was bitch, and nobody's called me that to my face, and I don't think I've done anything to anybody to warrant that, especially not back then.
It was me, Andy.
This was a few years ago. It was you?
It was me. I did it.
All right.
It's a long-running joke. I wanted you to be confused and angry.
It was a long game.
Yeah. I was like, one day we're going to do a podcast together, and I will bring it up during the Babysitters Club episode.
Was it worth it? What are you getting out of it?
It's not about me. It's about the audience. What did they get out of it?
All right. We're entertaining the audience.
Yes.
So anyways, it was actually a young boy. Let's not be gross here, Josh.
Yeah. No, but there were noises coming when Nikki couldn't possibly have been there, though. That's what I was actually going to get to, is that she asked him if he was there late at night or, during the storms, and Nikki's like, no, I wouldn't have gone down there at night. And she's like, well, then that doesn't explain the noises I've been hearing at night, so.
Yeah. They wind up solving the mystery like halfway, and then they leave it open-ended and just kind of move on to something else.
Well, it's
the revelation that
it's an old barn. It's probably rats or animals or something of that sort, because that's why they're like, oh yeah, okay, so we figured out that there's no ghost, but it's obviously the sounds are something natural from the house settling or from natural, animals just being out there. Because if you're leaving trash in a secret compartment, mice and rats are going to get to it. It's just how it is.
Right, and they also give it the explanation of the houses settling, which I've lived in some old houses, and they do make noise. I mean, it's old wood, it dries it, and then it gets, some humidity to it, and it'll creak and moan at times, so.
Right, but towards the end of the book, the girls are all having a slumber party, and Dawn and one of the other girls use the passage. The other girls don't know that the passage is probably Mary Ann, sorry. But two of the girls use the passage to totally freak out the other girls. And then they come through the opening in the wall, and they're all like, "Oh, you guys, you got us! Oh man, that's so cool that you have a secret passage in your bedroom." Blah blah blah. But then they start hearing noises again, and they can't account for it. And it ends with the question, did my secret passage have a ghost? I hoped I'd never find out. The next morning dawned clear and sunny. I was awakened by the sound of a catbird outside the open window. So they leave it open-ended, and they don't get back to it.
Now, hold on a second. You totally skipped past probably the biggest gripe I have in this fucking book.
Yes, let's talk about the slumber party and what they do there.
Yes. So they sit down at the slumber party, and they're trying to decide which movies to watch. So Christy says Ghostbusters, my vote too. Claudia says Star Wars, close second. Mm-hmm. Stacy says Mary Poppins. Mary Ann says 16 Candles. Okay. And then Dawn wants to watch The Parent Trap. It's all right. But they're all like looking at the VCR. Obviously, Parent Trap is way off the list because she looked woefully at the VCR. So it's Saturday night. They're going to get to stay up and everything. They end up doing a vote on it, and they end up with Ghostbusters and 16 Candles is what they're going to watch, okay? But they start with Ghostbusters. So they're watching Ghostbusters. And as they're watching it, they get to the point where the marshmallow guy bursts. And she says, I think it's Christy's favorite part too. As soon as he exploded, she said, I'm starving. Let's toast marshmallows, Dawn, or make s'mores. So they pause the movie at the part where the marshmallow man burst to make s'mores so they can eat them while they're finishing the rest of the movie. I've seen Ghostbusters 787 times, okay? At the point where the marshmallow man explodes, there are literally 3.5 minutes left in that movie. They go, oh, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, let's break her out of the dog. And then they're like, I love this town. And then it goes to the next scene where it's just the credits start rolling and they're walking out with marshmallow on them. Why did they pause the fucking movie to make s'mores to watch that? Just finish the movie. Get your s'mores made and watch your next movie.
Well, I mean, that last 3.5 minutes is about as much time as it takes to eat a s'more. So,
not if you're doing it right, man. You should have 6 or 7 fucking s'mores. What are you doing? How many s'mores do you eat?
I don't know, one at a time.
No. You got to sandwich 2 s'mores together and eat 3 of those.
That's why I don't call them s'mores. I call them z'nuff.
Z'nuff?
One's enough.
Yeah, I'll do one, but that's about it. I don't do more than one usually.
Well, I am the chocolatiest chocolate milk friend, so
Yeah.
candy
Yes,
is pretty
it's
much
true.
what I eat.
Oh, I'll take that Hershey. I'm just not gonna put marshmallows on it. I'll just eat the Hershey.
What?
Yeah.
But Dawn and Stacy don't eat s'mores because Dawn's a health food freak, so she doesn't eat junk food.
And she's real smug
And
about it the whole time.
And she's real smug about it. She's from California.
Just because you're from
Yeah.
California
You know how
doesn't mean you're
Californians are.
into if you're from California, you should be more into like tacos, like street
Right.
tacos, or it's not health food because like yeah, there are some health places out here, but I do great at being fat out here, so not like super fat, but you know my normal.
And we know
fat.
you aren't. We know you're not eating health food.
Oh God, no. I eat once a day to keep my slim figure.
Everybody from California is a vegetarian
Yep. Vegan.
Or vegan.
Vegan.
or keto.
I'm a keto vegan. You know, I only eat meat and vegetables.
I don't eat vegetables. I just pretty much stick to the meat.
Yeah, meat and sugar.
Potatoes.
Just sugary meat. I put
See?
sugar on.
Yep. Minty meat.
See, I am the most omnivorous of the three of us because I eat meat. I like all different kinds of bread, rye, wheat, multigrain. I eat all kinds of cheeses, vegetables, and then other more exotic foods. I like all food as long as it can be eaten. I always say if it's edible, I'll try it.
But then there's Stacy, who's diabetic.
Yeah.
And the other friends at least they bring them up a snack that they both can eat too. They don't just tease them for not eating sweets,
Right, but
or not being able to eat sweets.
let's be real. Couldn't Stacy have just, taken two insulin shots? She'd have been all right. That's what my cousin did. No, I mean it's funny actually because I've known a few people with diabetes, and the people I knew that had it were kind of down on themselves for the fact that they had diabetes and just never took the time to actually care about ways they could help themselves by eating better. They just ate as they wanted and went to the doctor as the doctor was like, hey man, you can't just keep shooting more insulin in to fix it. So it is kind of cool also to have them like, hey, look at, she's taking care of herself. This is how you do it. When you have diabetes, you eat a healthier snack.
Mm-hmm.
Don't drink the soda, which is a good lesson for all of us. We could probably all eat a little bit more like somebody with diabetes because, it just means eating healthier and not, it doesn't just mean that, obviously. It's also, yeah, I'm going to get off diabetes.
It's a lot of it is
Get off
just
the D
controlling
train.
the amount of sugar that you're taking in. Because
Yeah.
technically, we're all addicted to sugar, and there is a way to get off of it. But I don't want to be unaddicted to
I am
sugar because I
addicted.
love it. So
I can
I'm
put
gonna
sugar
keep
whenever I
eating
want.
I can't, especially on toast. Oh, best thing ever.
It's my comfort food, and I've needed a lot of comfort lately. I'm okay, guys. I'm okay.
Well, Andy, you're my best friend now because Josh doesn't like me, apparently.
Yay. No more sugar for me. I don't need this. I have friendship.
Wait till he comes up from California and sees what I do to the shampoo bottle.
Is it the sample shampoo where we put like a whole bottle in it so it doesn't come out like those kids did?
Yeah, right, where you just keep squirting it in their hair. No, yeah, that's the shampoo in here where it was like some kind of concentrated shampoo.
Oh, yeah. It was
What
a
the hell
super
is that?
concentrated shampoo.
Super concentrated shampoo. What the fuck is that? I've never even
heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I figure we're through the book, so now we can just kind of poke at things that we found that are interesting, and because it's just this book, it's like 3 stories put into one. Because there's the main story about Dawn's the ghost, and then there's the babysitting aspect of it, and there's a lot to the babysitting aspect of it. We learn about all these different kids and all the different weird things that they have together, like the triplets are assholes to their little brother, and
Right. Every so often we get an interlude about a babysitting job from one of the girls.
Yeah, it's the journal entries that they put, that they keep at the club so that they know what's going on in the world of these kids. So when they go visit the Pikes, they know that this kid's like this, that kid's like that. Here's what's been going on for them. And I think that gives each of the girls more insight so they can better handle the kids when they're around.
Yep. Chapter 10 was just like a nightmare scenario of Claudia trying to get a little kid who's really, really hyped up at bedtime, just won't go fuck down to sleep.
Go to fucking sleep, child.
It's very effective birth control in this chapter.
Yeah, she doesn't have a dad voice, so it doesn't really work for her.
It doesn't always work for me either. I mean, like tonight we had, I actually had to take a half an hour off because last night the boys stayed up till 10:30. They would not stop talking no matter what. And so tonight I shut the TV off. Usually they get to watch a couple shows before bed, and I shut it off a half hour early tonight. And tonight they didn't want to go to bed, and they finally got the picture when I told them that tomorrow night it'll be getting shut off an additional half hour early now. And they were like, whoa. I'm like, hey man, I gotta do what I gotta do. You're gonna listen to me at some point here. Maybe it'll be when I put that TV out in my garage.
I remember having those nights, though, when I used to share a bedroom with one of my brothers and neither of us could sleep and we just kept talking.
That's why you couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a brother, too, that I shared a room with, and the reason we couldn't sleep is because we didn't stop talking to each other.
I remember multiple nights, just David and I would start giggling, and we couldn't stop giggling. And my mom would yell at us, and it would just make us laugh harder. It's because that's what brothers do. It's just how it is.
I think it's what kids do. I'm sure that sisters are pretty much the same. It's just you're just sitting there just laughing, or if something stupid happens, and I don't know.
So another thing that I saw in here was at one point when they're watching some kids, but it's because of the rain, so that they're stuck inside. And so this is in Christy is watching some kids, and they bring up, let's read a book instead of playing Chutes and Ladders. What can we read? And we have some fun callbacks because they have Ramona and her father, so that's a Beverly Cleary. Fantastic Mr. Fox, obviously. And then who's the author of The Little Engine That Could? Is there an actual author, or is that just an old story?
The Little Engine That Could is just a book that someone found one time, and
nobody knows who wrote it. It appeared out of nowhere.
Yep, it was in a crater in Nevada, and they were able to copy it and just send it to everybody.
And don't let the writing on the front that's by Waddy Piper fool you.
No, that is a made-up name by the CIA to hide its true origins. If you want the truth, come here to ReLiterated. We will make up conspiracy theories on the spot, and a portion of people will believe them.
Right? It's what the media doesn't want you to know. The media's not going to tell you this.
The media gave Roald Dahl a bad name. It wasn't him making anti-Semitic comments and being a dick to publishers. It was the media.
No, it was fucking him. He's a terrible, terrible human.
He's a piece of shit.
I'm coming off a class tonight where a guy's talking about how the media is the one who makes a certain group of people look bad. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure they're doing that themselves.
You played yourselves.
Yeah.
But anyways, that is our very first time being introduced to the Babysitters Club through book number 9, The Ghost at Dawn's House. What do you boys think? Are we going to do a Babysitters Club in the future?
I would like to do another one, because I would like to see if they all take on a similar vein, or if the story changes up. I mean, you would think it would have to change up, but how many stories of like, we were watching these kids and this crazy thing happened, There's a main theme to the stories, it seems. This was a Ghost at Dawn's House. There was one called like Christie's Secret. Was that the one you had on the Facebook? So they've all got
Christie's Great Idea, which
Christie's
was the very
Great
first book in the series.
Yeah. So, I mean, they've all got obviously some theme. I would be interested to see where it goes. Is there another one that kind of that looks at the Ghost at Dawn's House? Or maybe we could look at one of the ones that has Dawn's mom actually dating Mary Ann's father, and that could be the sequel.
I'm just gonna like cherry pick titles from the whole series here. We've got Marianne in the Search for Tigger, Stacy's ex-best friend.
Ooh.
Ooh, Stacy's Choice. Wonder if that's like Sophie's Choice. Marianne Breaks the Rules. We could do the one where the family's racist against Claudia.
That was the one I was thinking of because that was, that's the only other one I know about.
Maybe if we keep tackling issues, we'll get better at tackling issues.
The only way is with practice.
Yeah,
Let's keep
yes.
talking about racism and gender and LGBT stuff. Yep.
Fumbling our way through it and hoping our cuteness actually plays off for us.
I have never banked on my cuteness successfully.
Our audio cuteness, my friend.
Our audio cuteness.
Yeah.
You apparently have a soothing voice.
I was going to
Yes.
say, remember, Harold's voice is soothing.
I apparently have multiple listeners that think I have a soothing voice, which I appreciate but don't understand.
But yeah, the series ends with Marianne's house burning down.
And all
Jesus.
the Babysitters Club girls die. It's really sad.
It ends with the Thanos snap.
Yep. Thanos snaps and all of them just dust away. Everybody
Which
but
of the babysitters will survive? Which will remain?
Babysitters! Assemble!
It was interesting. I mean, I don't know that I would pick these up and start reading the Babysitter Club's book from the beginning, especially as a 37-year-old father. But it wasn't
Right.
It wasn't bad. I think I definitely could have read it as a kid and might have benefited from reading it as a kid. Again, just the business savvy alone. But
yeah, not just that, but actually seeing girls as people.
right, instead of just things that we wanted to have for ourselves or something.
Things to chase. But
Yeah.
I mean, I had the honor of having a lot of female friends growing up throughout high school and everything, and I feel like being around them as friends with them gave me a lot of perspective in how to treat people and what it can do to a person to be treated as an object or not seen as a person and everything. And I feel like I gained a lot of empathy just from being friends with a lot of girls. So all my lady friends out there, thank you so much for being a part of my life.
I had something similar, especially in high school. I had a lot of friends that were girls, and a few of them were actually LGBTQ. And I don't think I really learned the lesson until later in life, honestly. I definitely had a lot of people around me, a lot of male influences that were like, oh yeah, sex and blah, 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 and girl, women, do. I had a lot of that, and I think I was a slow learner to it. But it was definitely those friendships in my long memory and me looking back to those friendships and understanding things differently as I got older that have changed my perspective and how I view it and how I intend to raise my kids to look at all people around them and not just see girls as objects of your desire. That's,
Yeah.
an important thing that I didn't take away right away. I had my moment as the young misogynist, but not to the extent of a lot of people. But, it was there. But definitely I learned from having all those girls as friends. Just not at the time. It was later. It was later.
Well, some of us, it takes a while.
Yelp.
Feel like I'm still learning.
Oh, and definitely you are. Yeah, you don't know anything, Andy. You know nothing, Andy Harrington.
I mean, I know nothing.
We just finished Game of Thrones again.
Ah.
Speaking of powerful women, it's funny how that series actually begins with all very nasty, strong male characters, but then ends with most of the kingdoms being under the rule of strong women.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was kind of a cool, like, it was It was an interesting dynamic how it switched like that.
At least powerful women.
Power-
I don't know how much strength of character Daenerys and what's her face?
Cersei. I guess it depends
Cersei,
on what you mean.
They ended poorly. I mean,
They did, but they had strong character. And, that was another one I wanted to say. One of the biggest gripes that I heard, and like I say, we watched it again after having seen it once before. One of the biggest gripes I heard was how people were like, oh, they just came out of nowhere with that thing with Daenerys. No, they didn't. When you watch it after having watched it all and know how it ends, all through the series, there are very clear signs in every single season that things were going to probably go the way they went. It's not a surprise as it was when you saw it, because everybody wanted like, whoa, she's got the dragon, she's cool. But anyways, it's worth watching it again. It's worth watching the whole series again.
Okay. Daenerys just kind of flips the table on the Game of Thrones.
She does, but it's obvious that she always had the capacity to flip the table. Not from the very beginning.
I see. Anyways.
Yeah, I never watched it, so.
I know.
Yeah.
When you come up this time, you are watching an episode of Game of Thrones. Just because I want. You already said you would.
No.
You already said you would.
Nope. And it's recorded now.
This is why you.
Nope.
This is why.
You
this
can
is
say
why
nope.
You're not anybody's best friend.
Yeah. you can say nope, but I mean, like at some point you're gonna end up being at my house.
I don't like high fantasy. Sorry.
It doesn't matter
interest
if
me.
you don't like high fantasy.
That's exactly what that show is.
So watch it sober.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have to watch it high.
Nice.
No, you told me you would watch one episode, and that statement trumps your statement you're making right now.
I don't recall. That it's one of your fake memories. You have a bunch of fake
nope,
memories of
nope.
me, Harold.
No.
I never said I would ever watch Game of Thrones, because I will never watch Game of Thrones, because I have zero interest in Game of Thrones.
You said you would watch one episode.
I
You did.
will not watch one episode. I have
You
zero
agreed.
interest in Game of Thrones. Therefore,
It's
I
not
would
even-
never say that I would ever watch it.
It's not the first episode, though. It's not like I'm like, oh, you just watch one episode, you watch the whole series. No, there's a specific episode that you said you would watch that I would handpick from late in the seasons. That's what you said.
I don't recall this.
It's an hour and a half of your fucking time while you're sitting at my house for a week.
Only if we sit head to head.
We are going to sit head to head. We always sit head to head. We lay on the couch with our heads near each other so that we can hear each other while we whisper so my wife doesn't wake up.
This is true.
We have a lot in
And
common with
point.
the Babysitter's Club.
We do like to have
And
slumber
this is
parties.
where I'll edit back in.
Yes. So guys, next time we're all together, we should definitely have a slumber party and eat s'mores together about 5 minutes before the end of a movie. I think that's what we should do.
I think we should do it 5 minutes before the end of Ghostbusters. I think as soon as we need to do this experiment, we need to see if it's worth it to eat s'mores after the Marshmallow Man explodes.
For science.
For science.
For science.
And I don't think any of us would complain about watching Ghostbusters 788th time.
Oh God, no. I love that movie.
Right.
For sure. So we're going to watch Ghostbusters, eat s'mores during the last minutes of the movie, and then we'll watch 16 Candles. Yay!
Yay!
Slumber
It's
party.
all right.
And then we'll stop it halfway through and put on Game of Thrones when Josh isn't looking.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, I really don't want to watch 16 Candles.
All right, we'll watch a bad movie like Birdemic.
Molly Ringwald is in that, though, isn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I do want to watch 16 Candles.
You've never seen 16 Candles?
I think I might have at some point in my life, but probably not. I was busy watching Steven Seagal movies, man.
Yeah, not too much into the John Hughes movies as a youngin'.
Oh, no,
Nope.
that was in high school, specifically with girls.
Not even then. I don't know.
That's
Not
all
that I
right.
didn't like them. It's just,
Again, I never watched them until I was hanging out with a girl, and then I'd watch them. So,
Mm-hmm. Likely story.
very likely story. All right, guys, so what do we got lined up for next week?
All right, something totally uncontroversial. We're not going to touch on racism
Yeah.
at all.
Oh,
Nope.
not
This is-
smidgen on this next one.
Not when you
it's-
got an
it's-
Indian in the cupboard.
A real live Indian in a cupboard.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, when we say Indian, clearly we mean somebody from the Asian area or in India over there, right?
From India. No.
Yeah,
no. This is an Iroquois in the cabinet.
And
Next
even at this point,
episode.
Iroquois is incorrect. So yeah, lots going on that we'll have to discuss next week. After
Yep, three
reading.
white dudes are gonna educate you all about Native Americans.
Well, we're not
It's
going to
gonna be
educate
great.
you, but we're going to tiptoe around the issues as best as we can.
I don't know that
we are
we've.
going-
I don't know that we've tiptoed around any issues. I'm pretty sure we've just walked right into them like
Yeah, we just
low-hanging
stomped on
bar.
those eggshells.
Yeah.
We're picking eggshells out of our feet all week long.
Yep.
That's true. We have a tendency to do that.
I mean, you
So
gotta
these-
speak your truth, whether you're right or wrong, and you can find out which way you go on that one.
Whatever gets the emails coming in.
Yes.
Because we want them. So next week, May 25th, these three cisgendered European American males are going to be reading or discussing The Indian in the Cupboard by Lynn Reed Banks. So we appreciate you listening to this episode. ReLiterated is brought to you by the Chocolate Milk Friends. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with your friends. Subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Podbean, Google Podcasts, or any podcatcher app that pulls from these sources. And give us your reviews, give us your ratings, give us your feedback. Give us your social security numbers and your checking account numbers.
Mother's maiden name.
Your mother's maiden name. Yes, what high school you went to. Your first pet name.
Favorite candy bar.
Or just your favorite ice cream flavor or something. We want to know who our listeners are. So, and then if you want to read along with us, read The Indian in the Cupboard, and you'll know what we're talking about when we discuss it next week. So, until next time, give a shit, read some lit.
Have a great whatever time of the day it is for you.
Thanks, everyone.
I think that went well. I think we're going to get absolutely no negative feedback whatsoever.
Yeah,
No, I don't think
from
so.
that one.
Why would we?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like this one was quick because it's just the story didn't have a lot of story.
No, I don't think we'll get negative feedback because we were very clear entirely through it that we're like, yeah, we're a bunch of dumbasses on this. I mean,
Yeah, we'd have no clue with this.
I don't even know what I'm talking about, to tell you the truth. Please interact with us, educate us.
Please, we want some feedback.
So very lonely.